What is going on, Notre Dame fans? Mike Singer and Tim Hyde live with this week's Notre Dame football show here on YouTube. Hope everyone is well. We have a lot to talk about in tonight's show. Yeah, and we might have a special guest here, which is not a surprise. Yes, we're gonna talk with Mike Goolsby here in just a few moments. Tim, how's your week going?
Oh, all's going good. Ready for the big USC game. Last week, I guess, didn't happen, so we'll just move on. And then our special guest, it's been a long time, but Mike Goolsby is one of roughly, give or take a few guys. I'm trying to figure out maybe 100, 120, let's just say, maybe 130 scholarship football players. No, geez Louise, Pete Carroll wasn't there. So Goolsby is only one of 85 Notre Dame football players that ever beat Pete Carroll. I was thinking about that earlier. I forgot. Yeah, Pete wasn't there until 2001. So how's that? How's that to hype up Goolsby before he comes on with the big win in 2001?
Yeah.
We don't talk about 02. Hold on, Rick. Yeah, Mike knows we don't ever talk about the 02 game.
So yeah, like Annie Davis says, folks, please hit that thumbs up button. Subscribe to our YouTube channel, of course. So when Tim and I do our post-game show, Tim, why don't you tell the people just really, really fast?
Yeah.
How much prep we do before
the pregame show,
post-game show?
Oh, are you ready, Tim?
Yeah, are you ready, Tim? Tim, get your ass on the show because the super chats describe the show. Super chats, like the Goolsby show on Sundays. We just talk about the Wednesday show. I do prep a little bit more because I want to have the most engaging topics for a midweek show to keep people engaged on a Wednesday night, right?
Yes.
For tonight's show, I don't have to do shit. Yeah. I mean, I got Mike Goolsby, I got Tim Hyde. I just kind of got to kick back, have a drink, which is just a fancy water, and let these two talk ball and just make sure they don't run too long tonight, because I still got more work to do tonight. Goolsby, how you doing, my friend?
I'm good. And Tim, let's go back to 01.
Yes.
Playing at the Coliseum for $20. Can you recall the name of USC's tailback in 01?
Well, 01 was South Bend. That was the win over Pete Carroll. 02.
Oh, it was 2000 we beat him at the Coliseum.
Yeah. Petros Papadakis.
No, it was Sonny Bird. Remember the name?
Oh my God. Okay, it was a South Bay guy. I went to Redondo High, so I'm Sonny Bird's from our rival school, Maricosta, down the street.
Yeah, I remember after that game, and this Sonny there might be a corollary to this week's matchup, Tim. After that game, the coaches were butt naked, celebrating. I mean, if you saw a disco ball drop from the shower, I mean, it was a party in there. It's my whole point. We ran the ball 18 straight times to end that game.
Yes.
And it was with the Steve Adazios, the Kevin Rogers, the Bob Davey, they really embraced that running game, which was kind of led into that celebration. But yeah, good times. Been a while.
No, yeah, 2000 was one of the rare 12:30 kickoffs because majority of these games are prime time. So that was an afternooner. And God, Sonny Bird. Yeah, Sonny Bird played for Don Mora, one of the best coaches in the South Bay history at Maricosta. Yeah, that's a name I haven't heard in 20 years. Man.
You're welcome.
Love that.
I thought you might be able to pluck that one out of your.
God, I'm going to text one of my Maricosta buddies. Yeah, they're going to remember that one.
Hey, Tim. So Notre Dame drops to 5-2, losing to Louisville. Can we call it a blowout? I mean, I will call it a blowout. I mean, Louisville kicked the crap out of Notre Dame. Let's just call it what it is. How are you feeling, Tim? 4 days after the fact? How do you how's your body right now taking this loss?
I'm fine. I'm not on film. Those aren't. That's not my performance, as they say. So I'm fine. I'm hanging out down in the basement watching ball games, breaking it down, texting with Goolsby. I'm fine. It's hey, my name's not on that, I guess, so to speak.
All right. Well, then
we're just fans, Mike. How's that?
Yeah, but how is the Notre Dame fan in you?
Just PO'd, pissed. How's that? Ridiculous, sloppy. That game, it's crazy. That game, 17-13 in the fourth quarter, and then just all hell breaks loose, so to speak, right? And it's a huge. I mean, let's be brutally honest, huge disappointment. I mean, you're out of the national title hype, gone. What, October 7th or 8th, whatever the hell that game was. So you're done. So now, we say it all the time, right, Mike? The next game's the biggest, but it's true. And we could get into this, but this SC game is it almost like a little bit of the Clemson last year? Does it, get you rolling? People forget last year when they were 3-3 before this year's Ohio State game. Notre Dame was 10-1 in their 11 games before Ohio State, going back to the Stanford game. So, the Rocky ship with Marcus Freeman got it rolling. The hype train's rocking. It's a top 10 battle in South Bend. Hartman for Heisman, and you kiss all that goodbye. That's all done. Now it's literally, are we battling for the Holiday Bowl or the Gator Bowl this weekend, or a legitimate upset? I think it's an upset. We'll talk about this later. I can't believe Notre Dame's favored, but how in the hell that's happening, but we'll get into that. But no, I mean, Mike, it's literally because the rest of the schedule is horrible outside of Clemson. Clemson's a name right now. They're not a football program. They're
after USC, but yeah.
3 horrible teams. Clemson at home will be a dogfight, but you're looking at a legitimate 10-2, 8-4. That's what Saturday night's going to turn into.
Goolsby, same question to you. Like, just especially when you think about what this could have been this season.
Oh God, yeah.
When I think about what this could have been, or what the Notre Dame fan base at large thought this could have been. So I mean, like I said, I wasn't shocked that we lost to Louisville. Told you I thought it was coming. Tim, my question back to you is, like you said, you're PO'd, the fan in you're pissed off coming off the Louisville loss. Are you just pissed off in general? Are you pissed off at the players' performance? You pissed off at the coaching? Could have been prevented? Dig into that.
Yeah. Yes. How's that? Yeah. Pissed off. You know what? I'll be honest. It's more so after rewatching the game. I would love to know who in the world's on the headsets. And I'm trying to be really nice here and not get angry. But it's like, who's on the headsets? Because I'm just a high school football coach, longtime junior college coach in Southern California. I know a little bit of football, and it's like, you're telling me you can't see certain things? When Notre Dame's an 11 personnel and they're spread out, they get yards. When you bring in 30 tight ends, you get no yards. It's not rocket science. That part, some of the Freeman quotes have really irked me when he says we weren't prepared. Well, you're the head football coach. You're in charge of this football team. When he said that, that was almost a kick in the gut. Like, well, why aren't you prepared? So, and I guess, Mike, it's still going this, you said it on your show a week ago or 2 weeks ago, the ride, maybe it was after the Duke game, the ride or die with Freeman. And it's like, okay, I guess, do we still sit back and accept some of these decisions, some of these things that are still happening? The fan in me says you don't want to, but I guess reality is you're still going to have some issues like, what we've seen the last couple of weeks, I guess.
Yeah. I think you answered my question. You're pissed at the coaching staff.
Yeah.
Just to hear your response. Yeah, it's like, it's interesting. The last few weeks, man. Yeah, again, I talk about, I live in the Nebraska Cornhusker territory. I live here in Omaha, Nebraska, and for years now, Tim, I pay attention to the Huskers. I don't necessarily have a rooting interest in them, but they have found more creative ways to lose games than you could even wrap your mind around. Like, it's just like, oh, I've never seen that, and I'll never see it again. But somehow they pulled it off, lost the game. It's like with some of Freeman's coaching decisions, and then like the follow-up presser, like the press conference, it's just like you scratch your head coming out of the game, and then when you get to the explanation, you're equally as confused, if not more so. Like, we've talked about checking out of a play, sending Sam up with an audible. It's crazy, for a 26-year-old quarterback it's a lot to put on his plate. But, Freeman one of the first 2 questions in his last press conference, somebody asked something to that effect about audibling, and Freeman said, like, yeah, we can, but, if you want to run the ball, sometimes you got to run the ball. And it's like, no, that's not what we're talking about. Check out of it, check to something different. So you see 9 people, 10 people in the box. So yeah, some of this stuff is a bit perplexing, but
well, let me ask you something there. Just it's like, because I've been seeing, this has been the hot topic on the message board, YouTube, and the comments. You're just seeing stuff on Twitter. Everyone's like, Audible, check out of it. But what do you check into when you're in 4 tight ends?
This is true.
What, a hot route to the tight end, a flat route to Eli Raridan, who's been out a year. I mean, what do you? It's like it goes back to this, a lot of the personnel packages of it's also Marcus Freeman's 2 favorite buzzwords: experience and multiple. He wants to be so multiple, yet he's so multiple, he's limited himself on what he could do in some of these things. Defensive coordinators aren't dumb. They know when you're in 3 tight ends. It's like the Ohio State game. They covered the heck out of that play action on that 1 4th down where Hartman scrambled and fell an inch short. It was covered up. That's your basic standard college football Division I, play action pass out of that. So there's only
there was a snap against Louisville where I think we came out with 4 tight ends. We actually went empty. Went empty, and then Mitch caught like kind of a deep drag.
Yeah.
So you can't do it. But what you're saying, Tim, is they should be living more so in 11, spread a defense out versus clumping, congesting everything with those 4 extra blockers at or around line of scrimmage.
And just real quick on that, before Singer jumps in, is that goes back to the run game the last couple of weeks when they have literally Jeremiah is a stud. How he only gets 5 touches a game, just I guess I've never watched football in my life. It's maddening. But the dude, every time he touches the ball, he gets positive yards, and he gets majority of his positive yards when they're 2x2 or a tight end slot, a true 11 personnel. That's where he gets majority of his yards, because you can't play all these dudes inside. So now it's one-on-one blocking, and it's Love versus one guy. If they have an extra guy, it's Love versus one guy instead of 19 linebackers filling the A and B gap. So, it's a few things like that which have been just frustrating to see, this constant bang in your head of, we got to play all these guys in the box. Sure, as Singer knows, I always say 5 linemen only block 5 guys. But the more you bring in, the more Raridan, who's been out a month, amazing how much he played and how much responsibility he had on key blocks. The dude hasn't played in a year, and he's the key guy on 3 blocks minimum on a Saturday night. I didn't think that was fair for Raridan to be put in that situation.
And I talked to his father, who was a teammate of mine, actually lived 2 doors down from me in St. Edward's Hall. We're both Steadsman, Singer. But I was like, when's Eli coming back? Is he going to redshirt? This is at the Ohio State game. I bumped into Scott, his dad, and he was like, he's healthy. He's trying to get his mojo back, right? He's come off 2 knees, and that's a very real part of being a competitive athlete in a physical sport. And to your point, Tim, he kind of got thrown to the wolves.
Yes.
In a big time matchup against big time edge defenders. It's like, you would have liked to see maybe a better way to kind of ease him into things, for sure.
Okay. Good stuff, boys. And we'll continue to talk. Obviously Notre Dame football here, and we'll get into USC in just a moment, but we are going to hear from our sponsors over at Bird Dogs. If you're looking for a slim fit, comfortable, flexible, and also maybe stretchy shorts to rock, maybe some stylish pants, polos to improve your wardrobe, then you'll want to check out today's sponsor, Bird Dogs. Their stuff fits way better than the regular shorts that you might be wearing, which is made of a stiff, restricting cotton. Bird Dogs fixed this issue by inventing cloud knit fabric that looks just like looks like khaki, but stretches so you get a slimmer fit without having to sacrifice movement. Go to birddogs.com/BGI or promo code, or just punch in promo code BGI for a Hydro Flask style water bottle with your order. That's BGI for the promo code, or birddogs.com/BGI for a free Hydrostat Flask style water bottle. You won't want to take your Bird Dogs off, we promise you. Play a drinking game. Every time Singer stutters during an ad read, take a drink. You will be drunk by 10 minutes from now. Boys, so a good question here from Joey. Says this might be a stupid question, but why is Notre Dame favored by 3? Which kind of gets us into the next topic that I wanted to cover, boys. Like, I was, when I was sending you guys the notes for the show, I wrote, how can Notre Dame pull off the upset? And I was like, well, shit, they're favored.
I know.
So, Tim, does this surprise you that they're actually favored? And any thoughts on this, like how Notre Dame could beat USC?
Yeah, Joe, you're with me. How? I mean, seriously, what is the latest line, Singer? I mean, is it
2.5. I saw one line got up to 3 on OddsShark earlier today.
But what did it open at, Singer? What did it open at?
So it was USC was a 1-point favorite in February odds, and then like a week that's like the preseason odds, and then Sunday morning or whatever, it was I think USC or Notre Dame 2.5. I can check it real quick, but I'm pretty sure it was Notre Dame -2 or 2.5, which is just wild to me.
So my first thought is, how? I have no idea. I guess that's your standard NFL field goal at home, right? You get your 3 points at home, and the rest of it's even. We could talk about SC, and we know. They might have literally one of the 5 greatest college football players of all time. I might be hyperbole or something. Top 10. Caleb Williams is a dude. There are some things he does. It's like, how do you do that? They have skill all over the place. Their defense obviously is a train wreck, but then Vegas is never wrong, right? So it's like, but what do they see in Notre Dame the last couple of weeks that says, well, Notre Dame's going to beat them? Notre Dame is going to I don't know. My big question, and Goolsby jump on this, is Hartman and those receivers or Caleb Williams and his receivers? So Vegas thinks Hartman's going to outscore with his wide receivers at Notre Dame, USC. That to me is the big shocker. Is they're obviously saying, well, Notre Dame's just going to get one more stop than SC can. That's what it sounds like.
Gentlemen, what happens when you assume? Singer, you know this expression?
Make an ass out of me or whatever?
Makes an ass out of you and me, right?
Yeah, there you go.
So we all assume, justifiably so, Tim, that SC is going to hang 45 points, something like that, right? But like if you look at the total points for the game, Mike, the over-under total points is 60.5, I think, and that's come down. I think that opened around 62 or something like that.
Yep. Current over-under is 61.5.
Okay, and so it's like, so play that out. If USC is going to score 45 points, we're going to come in with a measly, whatever it is, 17 or something like that. They're projecting it would obviously be a lopsided win in USC's favor, but then how could we be favored, right? If you guys follow me there with the math?
Without a doubt. Oh yeah, without a doubt.
But we can get into
hey, Mike.
Yes, sir. People
are talking weather. Weather's terrible. So
you took some of my thunder, no pun intended. But yeah, weather's a thing. They got this stupid USC coach. They got their punt returner, Tim. I'm sure you've seen this video. If you guys haven't seen it, their punt returner, and they got this poor assistant coach, ball boy.
You got
trying to spray water in his face as he's trying to, because they're trying to prepare for rain. The temps are going to be in the 40s and the 50s. You will see those USC softies with their winter jackets on. You'll see it.
Speaking of
long
that,
sleeves. I just think it's so fun to come on here with Tim, because Tim, I know you're a Notre Dame fan, but
oh man,
your second favorite team has to be USC, just with your upbringing and where you grew up. It has to be.
Oh yeah. I'll be very honest. I have no issues with SC. It might just tons of
Pete Carroll was good to you, and you were a coach.
Oh man, yeah. I've lived in those USC football. I've spent years, when you add up all the time I've spent in the USC football offices with multiple coaches. No, I have no issues with them. I don't like them. Half of my friends are USC alums. Some of my great, team parents I've had over the years are USC lawyers. If they're watching this, they know who I'm talking about. A lot of good people, but man, nothing's better than beating those guys. There's no doubt about that. It's awesome. I've been to some UCLA games decked out in Notre Dame gear, cheering on UCLA. That's been awesome. But it's funny. You brought up just real quick, a little Timmy Hyde story here. When I got out of the Marines many moons ago in 1995, I have a relative that worked on South Bend for years. Went to the USC game in 1995, man. Keyshawn Johnson was number 5 when he came to town. And you're speaking of the entire sideline. That's the Kennan Tatum famous goal line hit, knocks the ball out inside the 5 from 95. And Ron Paulus and them go crazy. Mark Edwards, they went 38-10. The entire USC sideline, because it was like 38 degrees, were just bundled, wrapped up in those, scarlet parkas. That's good memory right there.
Yeah. I was just gonna say, what if Pete Carroll might have hired you had you not been an ND fan? Has that ever crossed your
Well, he
mind?
knew it too. He used to call me Notre Dame Tim all the time. So
That's funny. Well, going back to how can Notre Dame pull it off, or is the current question, Singer, why are they favored, or are we to the point of how can they pull it off?
Both.
Okay. So I think weather's a thing. USC is coming off of a triple overtime win against the middling program in Arizona. They got to fly across the country. That's a thing, right? I think overall, again, I listened to a couple sports betting podcasts, and they have so many data points. We think we're bad at tackling, Tim.
Oh, yes.
USC is far worse. The last 2 games, USC's had 17 missed tackles each game. And this is against Colorado, against an Arizona, right?
I agree.
I don't think they have a Jeremiah Love in their backfield. And then looking at the Notre Dame side, Tim, listen to this again. Shout out to Bet the Board podcast. Bet the Board, great sports betting podcast. 25% of our offensive snaps against Louisville, Tim, ended up in negatives. 25% of the time. So it's Vegas just looking at our team, looking at Sam Hartman, et cetera, just the piecing it all together. And it's if Coach Freeman and the staff would just kind of if we could just get out of our own way, we can win the game. You know what I mean?
Oh, no.
Let's not go for it on 4th and 11 in our own territory. Stuff like that. We got a good kicker, which is going to matter in these games. At least if it's an over 50-yarder, he's good. So it's entirely reasonable, but I would think the big thing is the weather. And
I'll say, Mike, his road games. I mean, last year's Caleb Williams' worst game was on the road at Oregon State.
Mm-hmm.
I think it was only 17-13. Lost at Utah. Struggled a couple of weeks ago with the ASU game. I think was at Arizona State. That was one of those the last couple of weeks. They had Colorado in there, but yeah, they've just been sluggish. I think another huge thing, we talk about Vegas here, is obviously Notre Dame. This is the tail end, 4 straight games here against ranked teams where SC hasn't played anybody. Their strength of schedule is brutal. I mean, literally their toughest team is Arizona, Colorado, but they annihilated Colorado, fell asleep. Colorado hit big plays just to get themselves back into that. But that thing was
so Tim, real quick,
disappointed with them.
Yeah, they blew Colorado out, and then Colorado came back, and we're not taking anything away from Colorado either, right?
Yeah.
And then they were playing patty cake with Arizona, and at the very end, they took it seriously and won the game. Notre Dame, in our last, 3 ranked opponents, Ohio State, we're in it the whole time. Duke, we're in it the whole time. And Louisville, we were in it till the 4th quarter, right?
Oh yeah.
And I'm just telling you, I get the sense, and I've talked about this on the message board, that Caleb Williams is so talented, Tim, that he is just dicking around. He's just dicking around back there.
Yes.
He's let me see if I can do this. He's going to throw a pass. Tim, he's going to throw a pass behind his back before the season's over.
Seriously, the one pass I've seen over and over again is just the Colorado one where he's sitting back there for 22 seconds because he's bored. Colorado, and he just scrambles and just throws the thing underarm, sidearm, back twisted 40 yards on a dime. And it's how? We're trying to complete a 12-yard pass to Tobias, and it's a struggle. So it's it's exhausting. It's exhausting.
Tim, what do you think about the super chat on the screen here? Will the defensive line get pressure on Williams?
You want the honest answer?
I do. Give me the in-season answer, not the off-season answer.
Oh my God, in-season answer. I mean, who? I mean, the Viper position is they haven't played with a Viper. It seems like 90% of the snaps this year. Baptiste is the best pass rusher, which is crazy because USC's strength, believe it or not, is pass pro. So they're going. What they're going to do is Mike Goolsby is going to. He's going to love it. They're going to blitz the hell out of them probably.
Don't tell me that, Tim.
And they're going to try and plug up lanes and corral them somehow. So I don't know how to answer that. Is the pressure going to get to him? I mean, Notre Dame has no dominant pass rushers this year. They had one last year, a 2nd-round pick, and he was non-existent.
So let's say we have co-defensive coordinators in Tim Hyde and Mike Goolsby at the University of Notre Dame, and they're tasked to stopping this USC attack. and you guys have Notre Dame's current players, is it really just Micah damned if you do, damned if you don't situation, like trying to stop those guys?
Well, to go back to Joey's question, how do you pressure Williams?
Yeah.
And I'm of the mindset, I don't know if I'm trying to pressure him. Because if you go back to like last year, we got beat. I mean, they beat us running the ball.
Running the ball.
In the golden scheme, it's everybody's walked up at the line of scrimmage. All it takes is one flipper from a guard to somebody gets knocked off their course. Huge lane. Then we got DJ Brown, God forbid, trying to make an open field tackle. So if I'm the defensive coordinator, Tim, real quick, I'm picking my spots, but I'm going to try and hover more than I'm going to try and pressure. Like I might play 3 deep. I might decide to, he's already played that robber. Yeah. So he goes from 2 deep and then he'll try and use a robber. Like what if I played 3 deep and I'm dropping my middle safety dependent on I'm rushing 3 and then I'm going to have 3 hands in the ground. We're going to rotate the hell out of our defensive linemen. Like I said, Boubacar Traore, get ready to play 5-10 snaps this week. We're not going to burn your red shirt, but we just need fresh legs for this game. Because I can just remember Riley Mills just like he looked like Brian Kelly, man. He was purple out there, sucking wind. And yeah, I'm gonna spy him, and I'm probably gonna go. Sometimes you go 2-on-1 in terms of playing man on a back, and I'm gonna go 2-on-1 in terms of Caleb treating him as a running back. A lot of delayed blitzes, but I am not gonna make my blitzes. I'm not gonna declare my blitzes, Tim, pre-snap like we do.
Oh yeah, and they definitely they love to walk. I mean, the big touchdown run they gave up, they showed the blitz off the edge, and boom, the running back finds that crease because he knew where the hole was going to be.
Nightmare
on that 46-yarder. One thing that I like that Arizona did, and the head coach talked a lot about this, is they just played 7 DBs. They put 7 DBs all over the place and just should cover, boom, beat us. They made him. They got up 17-0. Arizona doesn't have the dudes to withstand those guys for 60 minutes. So I went to triple overtime. They sucked gas at the end, but they played 7 DBs and said, screw rush. We're going to rush 3, keep a middle backer in there for a little bit and just frustrate the hell out, dare them to run the ball.
So real quick, you talked about that play you'd seen against, Caleb run around there for 20 plus seconds and then he decides to uncork it. It's like, can we get a shot clock in college football somehow? But you're right. And Arizona had a couple good looking athletes. That defensive end number, I think it was 99. Mm-hmm. He was making some hay. But if to Tim's point, in terms of like kind of what I'm saying, hovering, playing coverage, if you make Caleb dance around back there and he's trying to find work, he's trying to find an open window, that's going to lead to more sacks, Tim. Even if you rush 3, because those offensive linemen, they don't know where Caleb is.
No.
The way he plays the game, and he wrote from one hash to the other hash, it's like, you want bodies around, and at some point we're going to pull the trigger and come and go get them. You got to tackle, but I pray, and I don't think it's going to happen, Tim, but I just pray that, that Golden can play a little bit of zone coverage as opposed to trying to heat him up.
Yeah, just match up.
I think that Caleb wants you to come, and he slips. He'll slip right by you. He wants you to come try and tackle him.
Yeah. Oh no, he's if anything, the offensive linemen are in his way. It feels like you guys get out of my damn way. You guys are clogging my lanes up. He just wants to run around and play backyard football.
It's recess. It's recess.
Yeah, exactly. And he's just amazing with that. But it's like, pattern match underneath. His number one target's the slot. So one thing, Notre Dame, believe it or not, did do 7 DBs on a snap. I think I saw it even 2 times. They threw that out there. So was that something they wrinkled with, just a pinch on Louisville? And like I said, USC's number 1 wide receiver is the slot. Cam Hart played a bunch of snaps Saturday night as the nickel. Obviously, Harper was out. So Hart was kind of the number 2 nickel on Saturday behind Clarence Lewis. And then Mickey was the outside corner with Morrison when they did that. So is that something that they'll do? Just like, hey, I think it's Taj Washington, the slot receiver, dude's fast as hell. Are we just going to put Cam Hart on him? Because we've seen Thomas Harper try and run with slots. It's not fun. So this, do they mix that up? Is that a better, play 3 corners, 3 true corners on the field instead of, strong safeties and Ramon, Harper, DJ Brown, that type of thing.
I think last little note on this. I think, Tim, we agree. Play your athletes.
Yeah.
I mean, please play your athletes, guys that can run, guys that can tackle. Maybe you see a lesser of JD Bertrand. I mean, JD Bertrand's going to have a whale of a time. Caleb Williams is bigger than he is. He's twice the athlete. It's like, give me Jalen Sneed doing some sort of a spy role. I mean, you need Kaiser, Sneed, Marist. I always focused on the linebackers, but we need guys that are long-ish, can flood passing lanes.
Sneed is key. That's a great point. He needs to play 25, 30. I mean, he needs to play a lot.
Can he play off the ball, though, and just kind of float? Or do we need to walk him up in that Aztec BS?
Just put him on the edge and just heat his ass. I mean, seriously, just let him go, man. I would put the dude on. He reminds me so much of Jalen Smith. They did that with times with Jalen where they put him in a three-point stance and special situations and heated his ass. Do that with Jalen. Jalen could go.
Singer needs to grow up.
Yeah, what's in the chat? I don't even want to know.
You're saying heating his ass. Yeah. Saying
it's nothing.
And hot blitzing.
It's nothing.
The other thing about Jalen, though, they kind of got him just as a rusher, right? He just rushes upfield, or they'll do that little TE kind of scheme where he'll wrap around.
Yeah,
this pass was against Louisville, Tim. What does he weigh? 210 pounds, Sneed? Oh, God. I mean, at this point in the season, is he 210?
He looks bigger, though, man.
Call 215.
Okay.
He's lined up over a guard, the poor kid. They got Sneed playing 3 technique, trying to rush the passer. And I know that they're trying to simplify it for him, but in this game, why can't you take an athlete like that and just say, hey, on this given, throw him on the field, you're spying. And that's it. What I'm saying? You're a spy.
They're going to put Merritt. I mean, I'm sure that's the instant game plan. SC's even preparing for. Well, number 8's going to be all over Caleb, so get ready for that. So,
yeah.
What a key player is Marist Liufau in this game? Because if Marist plays a good Marist game, well, I think Clemson last year, he was outstanding if I remember correctly. If he plays one of those games, it seems like, because he's going to be key in stopping Caleb Williams on the scramble. But if he has one of those stinkers, that's gonna spell bad news for the Notre Dame defense.
Playing a spy, you remember that game, Tim? 0-2 at Tallahassee, playing Florida State. Chris Ricks. We played well all game. At the very end, they brought in that backup quarterback, Adrian McPherson. Remember him? Athlete.
That dude could run.
He could run, and it was like we were all tired. And I'm telling you, so if you see Marist missing a tackle against Caleb Williams, and believe me, I've given him no grace, Marist, but I'm going to give him a little bit of grace. I mean, that's a very difficult tackle to make. Caleb Williams jitterbugging out there in wide open space. So,
all right, boys, we're going to talk about when Notre Dame has the ball in just a moment, but let's hear from our sponsors over at the Rogue Shop. The husband and wife outfit, as Mr. Rogue and his wife Shar are craft cannabis farmers who specialize in small batch, sustainable plant medicine, a true holistic small type of business. They farm and grow everything themselves and do everything by hand. Check them out, rogueshop.com. That's ROGU shop.com. They sell everything from CBD, THC, edibles, tinctures, smokables, bath salts, pain creams, topicals, vapes, candles, soaps, and more. When you check out their website, they have this chat function where you can, send a message to the owners of the website and they'll answer any questions that you have. Use the promo code Blue and Gold. That's one word, Blue and Gold, to get 10% off your order. So check them out over at rogueshop.com. All right. So we talked a lot about when USC has the ball, but Goolsby, what can Notre Dame do to fix the offense? I mean, they can't fix the personnel other than just getting healthier, or maybe you play like a Jeremiah Love in the slot some, or I don't know. I think that's about all you can get. I don't know what else you can do, but
I don't. Yeah, you're saying game plan wise, what do we do? I've seen the Love in the slot thing, and I think you talked to his father, right, on the phone.
No, I did not. Off the record.
Okay.
No.
I think I heard that elsewhere. I don't like that move, Jeremiah. He's our best running back. He's our best running back as far as talent is concerned. So it's like now you've seen Tyree struggle at times making, semi-difficult catches as a receiver. I don't like that move. To Tim's point, and it's the same thing we talked about last year a lot with Coach Reese. Like, you have to spread a defense out. So stop congesting the line of scrimmage. And I called it ping pong, but I meant pinball. How many runs have you seen Audric Estime just pinballing around before he kind of gets to the line of scrimmage? So clear it out. You have to figure out some way to manufacture some yards in the passing game. I mean, Tim, you and I were on an island all offseason talking about our less than stellar wide receiver core, but they can't be that bad, brother. Like, they can't be this bad.
Well, not against SC, so they're pretty bad in the back end. So Notre Dame I think they're 118th, 120th, and like passing yards given up, something just atrocious. So,
but this could be a dink and dunk. Last couple thoughts, dink and dunk game from Sam. Tim, SC. I feel like I know their culture. This is going to be a stats game for them. They're going to come in incredibly overconfident. They're going to try and kick us while we're down. I could see like a screen draw type game here because their defensive linemen's just going to try and get upfield, get stats. Their corners are going to try and make picks. So if you can just throw little bubbles, break a couple tackles, get some yak. And then watching that Arizona game, Tim, last thought, I think we could run for 250 yards on these guys. I do. I don't think they want to tackle Audric Estime. And a Jeremiah Love, he's a difficult kid to bring down too. Yeah,
I'm not a fan of all the running back stuff. I've been talking about that the last couple of weeks. I'm like, just play your dudes, man. It's so frustrating. We know it's Estime.
The rotation you're saying is frustrating.
Oh God, yeah. We don't need to see Payne come in twice a game to run 3rd and 2. We're okay with that. You had your time. You did some good things early on. Boom, play your guys. If Estime can't run for 3rd and 2, then what the hell is he playing at Notre Dame for? It's like, come on, give me a break. Love is clearly the number 2 running back. He is legitimate. He could be your 1B if you want to call him that. I don't care. He's a stud. I have never been a fan of Chris Tyree as a running back. As a slot, I don't understand why he's not catching 5-6 balls a game. Seriously. He is really good at running the little square ends, those 10 to 15 intermediate. He has been good at these all damn year long. He's also, going back to the NC State game, the big 65-yard catch he made was just a gadget play, but him breaking off his route, coming back, finding the ball and going. For the life of me, that's been the biggest shocker in this entire offense, this entire football season, outside of the Viper position on offense. It's been Chris Tyree. Of just not saying he's, the perfect slot or Wes Welker and things of that nature, but just small things. And they tried that last game. They tried to give him a quick dump. Do that 3 times a game. Motion. I've been stunned they don't motion him constantly because the guy's fast as hell. So every DC, when they see him out there, knows that's the fastest guy on the field. Yet we don't see him just motioning a wheel route, a motion to something. Because when he moves, the dude's fast, as we know. Someone's got to account for him, and we haven't seen that. So his numbers, his snaps have been really down. He's an intermediate, quick out. And this is I go back to the very first series of the Louisville game. One of the best plays, and they've done this every game. They've done at least one true RPO where Hartman reads it and he throws it. The second play of the game, the quick speed out the Rico Flores. They should sit in 11 personnel and just dump that to Chris Tyree 3-4 times a game. It's open. But then they're going back to my Marcus Freeman buzzword, and I'll get off this, is the multiple. And you see it, Mike. It's every single play. There's an
in and out.
These guys run more in and out than they do get yards on the field. It's maddening. So it's like, no wonder we got pulled hamstrings. Everyone's running off the field 17 times a game. So you're getting tight. And that's exhausting.
Yeah. So we agree, Tim. Kind of spread them out.
Yes.
Quick game. Tyree, by the time he's done, what a fascinating career he will have had, right?
Yeah.
It's like what could have been at running back, what still could be at wide receiver, and he's just going to have a nice little NFL career. He is.
Yeah.
To your point, let's get him quick game, make you miss versus we're trying to throw 40-yard bombs to him, right?
He can catch. That's the thing. I know we've talked about him as a
He looks way better than I thought he would.
No, exactly. And then you've said that on your show. He has really, really been good. That 15 to 18 in catching, he's really been good this year. So he has shown he could play wide receiver in certain roles in certain pass schemes.
I want to jump in here real quick because, Tim, I remember a specific conversation in the offseason. I was like, I love Tyree from the line of scrimmage to 15 yards, but I do not want to run 4 verts with Chris Tyree and you know him running down 30, 35 yards or something.
Yeah.
Nor do I want him on the slot fade.
No,
I thought that was a perfect ball by Sam Hartman where the ball needed to be.
Yeah, he twisted his arms, but that's an entire life of playing tailback. So that's hard to pick up in 6 months and 20,000 balls on the jugs machine. But no, I do. I mean, you talked about that back in May or June when we started breaking down the team where you're like, let Tyree run circles around people.
Let him cook. Like, do more with him in the short game, 5-yard outs, bubbles, jet screen, like motion games like you guys are talking about.
And I think, Tim, too, an important note, and this goes back to the Vegas line and maybe the explanation behind that. Again, like if the staff can just kind of get out of their own way, it's like you're not, what you're calling for, Tim, isn't things that you haven't seen throughout the season thus far.
Exactly.
Like you're not asking them to install something that is completely foreign to the offense.
Yeah. It's almost like, and this is another puzzling thing, going back to some of the things Parker said in the summer and the players said when training camp started, or Stuckey said in his press conference, was because, it's almost like they went out of their way to say, oh, we kept everything the same. We don't want to mess it up. Well, go back to 2021 for crying out loud. With Jack Cohn, they lived in 11 personnel. They didn't have 12, 13, all these tight ends out there. They did that last year because they didn't have a true slot. They have more wide receivers this year and you're not utilizing them. 2021, you had Avery Davis, you had Kevin Austin on the outside, you had Lindsey on the outside, and you could rotate in the freshman Colsey Styles. It's almost like go back to the offense of 2021 with Jack Cohn and let Sam Hartman do some of that stuff. That's why I had the prediction of, I thought one game Hartman was going to go ballistic and get 500 yards like Jack Cohn did because they were going to do tempo. I mean, do you remember that? That was some of the early part with Jack Cohn, was getting to learn Jack Cohn. Once they learned Jack Cohn, they're like, hell, he's really good RPO, quick game, tempo, and everything started to take off the second half of the season. Man, fingers crossed that happened starting Saturday moving forward and get out of this smash 12 3 tight ends. Notre Dame, we know you're tight end. We know you have tight ends on the roster. You don't need to play them every snap.
Tim, so we talked about offensively thus far, primarily you're focused on the passing game. What would you change in the run game?
Easy. Love 15 carries, estimate 15 carries, high five them. There's your 30 carries a game. Go have fun. Ford, you're on special teams. Payne, we'll see you when we see you. Price, keep resting your Achilles. We'll see you 2024. There's 30 carries right there. The run game has been good with one tight end on the field. That is something I went back and charted late last night after you and I were texting, talking defense. I sat down below and just started charting down my notes of what worked. Notre Dame had one positive run, meaning 4+ yards, in 12 and 13 personnel Saturday. One. That's it. And it's like all these positives in 11. And that's going back to my opening, like, who's up in the booth? All these GAs and analysts, do you not chart what's working to give to Coach Parker? Because he's so busy he's thinking down a distance. 2nd and 7, what's my chart? 3rd and 2, what's my chart? And then they have to roll from that. But run game's been fine. They're pin and pull. The pulls have worked, believe it or not. They run those with Love, though. Estime would have 5 more touchdowns if he could read a guard, because there are huge holes outside. I would give those to what's his name?
Yeah, I don't feel like that we've seen Love make a lot of hay on outside runs.
No.
And it's so funny when you see the way the Love's play speed versus Estime's. I mean, it's like somebody's hitting the fast forward button. I mean,
it's different.
He is different. And you kind of saw that. You saw that in high school. Going back to Parker, though, based out of 11 or 12 or 13 or 14, you get the sense that, like, if something doesn't quite work, like the multiple tight end sets, that's kind of like his binky. You know what I mean? Like, that's like, it's almost like a tick that he has. It's like, oh, it didn't work. Like, we need more bodies to block it up. And you're saying the complete opposite.
Yeah, and it does work because it worked last year. Obviously, you all remember the Clemson game. It's worked in multiple games for them, but just because it worked then doesn't mean it's going to work now, so to speak. And it's just a numbers game. I mean, it's a numbers game. The more you bring in, the more they bring in, and especially Mike, and you know this damn well, both of you guys do, is if you don't have a dude on the outside. So if you're going all these, you're going 12, 2 tight ends, you still got a couple of receivers out there. But if those dudes can't vertically stretch your corner and stress a corner, who gives a damn? All of a sudden, you count the free safety in the picture, and dude, there was plays the other day, there was 10 in the box versus 8. They didn't care. So they just walked their free safety up so tight. So until they get a guy on the outside, that's why you just got to spread them out and make them respect covering 4 guys instead of really 1 or 2.
I also think, last thought on the whole thing holistically offensively, Mike, love to see a little bit of play action. And I know that our receivers aren't the burners that we hope they were. We know SC's got talent on defense, Tim, but this is just me being a fan or whatever, just kind of knowing that Southern Cal culture over there. They're going to get a little bit lazy, especially with their eyes. Like, we still need to give Sam opportunities to push the ball. I don't know if Tobias is going to catch it or who's going to be down there on that route. But I just feel like the way that they play, very undisciplined. Yeah. What are they? They're 112th in the country in yards per game. Up to this point, they haven't really played anybody.
No, you're right. No, that's going back to the Vegas. I mean, their schedule's been atrocious. Their toughest team is what, obviously Colorado's a good football team, but no,
Arizona was playing their backup quarterback, Tim, too.
And really, you know what? And you brought up the culture, and this is true. Since Pete Carroll, he would grind. He's an NFL guy, so they're physical. I mean, you played against those guys. You know that. They're physical, well-coached.
They weren't that physical.
But they're big. I guess you could be physical. You got Reggie Bush.
Give me a break.
Yeah, I know. Bush could run all over anybody, so he's not physical. But the culture with him, they're really good on D, really good front 7 guys all the time. And then once he left, the talking points throughout high school coaches and all the coaches in SoCal was USC became a 7-on-7 team. Mm-hmm. They did with Sark and Kiffin, or they just want to throw the ball all over the place, and you're obviously seeing that now.
And boys, I want to do it like
Mike. 1 second, gosh darn it, Tim. 7-on-7 has become like a pivotal piece of the recruiting puzzle that people don't know, but 7-on-7 is leading to the missed tackles. These kids are like, they're learning such poor habits in that 7-on-7 environment, and like, you're seeing what it amounts to or what the end result is now. Anyway, sorry, Singer.
No, you're good. Kind of talking a big picture approach on Notre Dame's offense. I want to get more into, like, quickly before we get into a more holistic approach on the season in general. I want to look at this game before we move on. So we know USC's defense bad. This is according to AccuWeather. At nighttime Saturday, 44 is looking like the weather. The real feel is 31, whatever that means. 2 hours of precipitation, 14% probability of thunderstorms, 71% chance of the probability of precipitation. It says considerable cloudiness with a passing shower or 2 and breezy. Well, I hope it's worse than that.
I was going to say, Mike, the feels like that's the wind chill.
The feels like, okay,
yeah, 31 degrees is freezing. so it is going to be cold as hell if that's accurate, obviously.
So that sounds good. So, Tim, like, do you expect, like, Notre Dame to have, like, no problem? Look, USC's defense bad, but we're talking about if it is a rainy night, that's going to affect USC. Well, also is going to affect Notre Dame. and what they're wanting to do. So how do you see it playing out when Notre Dame has the ball?
But also real quick when Notre Dame has the ball, USC's strength, believe it or not, is, they're number one in the country in tackles for loss. Texas A&M and SC are tied number one in the country in tackles for loss. Going back to Goolsby's point, they want stats. Those dudes are going to get in a gap and blow up field and try and get their stats, and then they're going to get their ass trapped a few plays later, and they don't care because they got 3 tackles for losses. And I believe they're top 5 in sacks. So they are getting pressure from their front. The rest of it's been a train wreck. So what are they seeing sometimes, these coaches? It's like, it's easy to say spread, but it's worked. Just isolate Evans in seam routes and outs. The dude's an All-American. He's turning into the second best tight end in the country. We all know Bowers is on his own planet. So just keep working Evans and let Tyree play a ton and just rotate Love and Estime. And you know what? And real quick on Hartman, he got his worst game ever. So, when you go back to his ratings, and his QBR was 30-something%. 30-something%. 50 is baseline, is average. 75 plus, which he's had most of his games this year, is considered winning football. So he was 37. By the way, that was his lowest game since 2020 Louisville. So the dude's had 10 turnovers in 2 years against Louisville. He doesn't like playing against Louisville, obviously. So hopefully he doesn't have to ever travel to Bourbon Row again, and he's going to come out and play some real football this week.
Ghouls?
What's the question, Singer? How is weather going to affect ND?
Yeah, just like your expectations for Notre Dame's offense, because you have the weather, but you have USC's bad defense, but maybe not so bad, maybe more in the back end of things. What do you expect to see when Notre Dame has the ball?
I'm going to try and paint a picture for the audience. Tim, didn't you tell me you were watching some Dick Butkus documentaries and things this past week or so?
Seriously, I think I've watched. My God, that's all I agree. You're a Chicago guy, so obviously he's bigger than Chicago. Him and Sweetness, Walter Payton, MJ, Michael Jordan, Ernie Banks. There's some legends, but Butkus, man, I grew up obviously in downtown SoCal, and my dad idolized Dick Butkus. I can't tell you how many NFL films we used to watch of Dick Butkus. So, yeah.
So I was talking to most of my buddies are from Chicago, a few South Side guys. In every picture you see at Butkus is freaking bloody knuckles, covered in dirt. The film, Tim, it's grainy. It's like, did the sun ever come out during Butkus's career? The film you watch, and it just blends into who he was as a character, as kind of a football god, as it were, right?
Yes.
Pretty formative for me. So when I think about this weather for this game, going back to painting that picture, it's you want to turn this into a fist fight. So I think offensively, it's going to be like a Clemson thing. Yeah. Freeman kind of had his back against that wall, Clemson last season, and we just beat the piss out of him. It's in USC, they don't want to get into a phone booth, and it's frustrating because you're like, come here, let me get a hold of you. And it's tough. So it's 2 different styles. It's 2 different attitudes. It's 2 different cultures. And I just think that's going to be the approach, is that Clemson game. And we're just going to try and I think that's where you see the under, the 60.5 points kind of makes sense. But that's what Freeman's going to turn it into. And I think there's going to come a point in time, Tim, where Sam's going to make 2 or 3 clutch throws, but we're going to get back to Audric Estime. And I could see it. And fellas, it's just a matter of time. Jeremiah Love might break out. It's just a matter of time.
I hope, because I think that was one of the first things we talked about in our Navy post-game show. Singer was like, hey, what'd you think of the game? I'm like, please give Love 15. He jumped out against Navy. I was just like, oh my God, way better than I ever expected. It's just, I remember saying in our post-game show, the best play of the game for me was a 9-yard run, because it was duo, and he cut back and he grinded out 9 yards, something that was missing last year. Tyree and Logan Diggs didn't do that type of stuff. Estime's gotten really good at it this year. But, man, I love that guy. Feed that son of a gun. Feed those 2 guys. because just real quick on Love. I think he did the players' press conference. No, maybe it was last week going into Louisville. And someone asked him, what do you think of Estime as a leader? And he's just said, hey, I'm sucking it up, enjoying it. This is his last semester here. So he threw that out last week, so we only got 4 or 5 games left with Audric Estime. So enjoy him and run his ass into the ground.
Yeah. So that's my 2 cents. I think they're going to try and turn it into a fist fight. And I think the weather blends into it. And I just think if you're Freeman, it's such an easy narrative all week at practice. Tim, you got these pussies coming out here from the West Coast. We're out here grinding. And that's what I'm saying. Man, Mike, I'm getting chills. They do not want to tackle Audric Estime. They do not want any of that smoke. And Nick Evans will break a tackle or 2.
Hey, I'm going to just nostalgia, but that's what makes this game.
Oh, yeah.
You played in these, Mike. This is, I know there's rivalries and things of that nature. Dude, there's SC Notre Dame is just legendary. Just how it started it's legendary. It's not 2 guys in the same state. Okay, big deal. We already know that's a rivalry. But you got Rockney's like, hey, let's go out to LA and hang out in Hollywood, and just boom, it blew up. And the games that these programs have had, the legends. I mean, we all know the pregame hype video that starts 2 minutes before every game. And dude, there's filled with legends between these 2 schools. But it's LA and crappy South Bend, Indiana versus Hollywood. And it is awesome. It is 2 massive cultures just clashing once a year. And there's nothing like it.
All right, last topic quickly, boys. And this is difficult to kind of discuss right now because so much of the answer depends on the USC game. But just like your thoughts on the outlook for the rest of the season. Notre Dame sitting at 5-2 right now. I mean, as Goolsby likes to say, you bring in Sam Hartman to make the playoff. That's obviously gone at this point, but can you still salvage a pretty good season out of this? Tim, I'll go to you first.
You beat SC. I mean, you beat SC. You're going to go into the bye. You give the guys rest, and you come back and you play Pitt and go on the road, you get another bye. And then the last 2 are scrimmages, basically. So, yeah, I mean, you're looking – man, I love that word Super Bowl, I guess. But it's like this is literally another South Bend Super Bowl, so to speak. And if they win this game, they're 10-2. If they're not 10-2 after an SC win, then something freaking happened because there's no reason why this team can't do that. If they lose this game, Mike, guys, it's Notre Dame. There's no conference title. There's no this. There's no that. It's playing, getting ready for a mid-tier bowl. Guys start figuring out, do I want to go to the NFL draft? Do I want to come back? Am I a grad transfer? That type of crap seeps in. Then you're looking at 8-4 and playing in the Holiday Bowl against Oregon State, right? So, man, this is a biggie, fellas. This is a biggie.
Goals?
Yeah, I've always said, Singer, it's one game at a time. You'll never get me to elaborate beyond that, I don't think. But context always matters, Tim, Singer. So if we lose, how did we lose? Is it coaching, boneheaded, oversights or decisions? Is, if you don't see anything change, offensively, if we're going for it on 4th and 11s, we don't have 11 guys in the field on the goal line. If it's stuff like that, it could get ugly quick. If we compete and Caleb makes 1 or 2 more plays than we do, that's a whole different story if you lose. But I'm telling you, I think we can win. That's why I wore this shirt. This is an old clubbing shirt from when I was in my 20s. Believe. And it's like that and you guys know me, my audience have been watching for 3 years. I tend to be, glass half empty. I just tend to be more realistic. And I'm sitting there going, we hung with Ohio State, we hung with Duke, and back to back, and we hung with Louisville. It's just the way that we ended, it was just like, what the hell? Yeah. The way that we lost. So it's we're not that bad. I mean, and I just think coaches, just let the players play. Let's not overthink this. I think
they can definitely win. I mean, they definitely could win because I'm sour and I'm a quarter glass full right now, I guess. And it's like, I'm more as I've started to sit back. It's just like, I think last week was really freaking Sam Hartman, and Sam Hartman meaning Louisville. The dude is stunk against Louisville. It is
the boogeyman,
dude. Seriously, his QBR last week was 27.1 in 2020. Which by the way is the only time Sam Hartman has had under a 50 QBR rating, which ESPN does. The only time he's had that since Louisville 2020, the COVID year. That's it. Every other time Sam Hartman's ever played quarterback is 50 above, except for 3 games, and they're all Louisville. It's nuts. So, man, fingers crossed, the weather, the crap, and Al Golden figures out a way to not blitz JD 17 times in the cross dog, and Caleb goes nuts and win by 1 and go into the bye week, getting ready for a mighty Pitt.
Isn't sports just such an interesting thing? Like the Ohio State game, we're thinking, oh, Notre Dame's about to win this game, and we're gonna throw a party on our live stream, and then they lose, and now it's a sorrowful one. And Duke was the same way when we had a party, and then you beat USC. It's like, all right, you're 6-2. You just beat USC. Let's go 10-2, win a New Year's Six game, which we haven't done in a long time. Or you lose to USC, and then it is time to fire everyone again. Goals.
Well, go ahead. I have a point off of Singers.
Go ahead, Tim.
Oh, I was going to say, I mean, just to bounce off Singer there is, this is big because this is just going back to me and Goolsby's talks during the spring and summers and stuff like that of, we always talk about the big 3, obviously. So if you lose this game, you're right back to where you were last year. And it's like, where you lost to SC, lost to Ohio State 2 years in a row. Can you get one of the wins, which is Clemson this year? And that's going to be tough because it's on the road. You win this game, you're just mentally like, boom, we got SC, we got a top 10 team, all that good junk as they move forward. And if you lose this, man, it's going back to the man at the top, Marcus Freeman. What the heck is back-to-back 8-4s? I'm just saying that, if it ends 8-4, let's say they lose this and another one. Back-to-back 8-4s, where is this program trending going into year 3? Because next year's big 3 next year is you got USC on the road, which is never easy in Los Angeles, on the road to start against A&M. I watched that game last week. They got freaks. So they'll, whether they figure out or not, they got freaks. And then they're going to have Florida State, and we know where they're trending. So those are the big 3 next year. Plus, Jeff Brom brings Louisville to South Bend next year. So, the rest of the schedule is pretty easy.
Ghouls, closing thoughts?
Tim, are we wrapping this up?
Yes.
Okay.
Tim, you're nuts, man. You're already thinking about, we're playing USC this week, dude. You're talking about next year playing,
Talking about next year if it's back-to-back.
We're playing USC this week.
Back-to-back 8-4s. Oh, I'm fired up for Saturday. I can't wait. I love SC.
Here's my locker room speech. Who's our alpha, Tim, on the team? Do we have an alpha? Howard Cross would probably be the name that I would throw out, but I don't know if he has that presence or like that, vocality, if that's even a word. Who's our alpha? It ain't Sam Hartman.
I'll be honest. It sounds like you read some of the quotes and things that people say. It really sounds like it's Joe Alt a lot. From what I've heard, or at least reading, some of the clippings and things of that from press conferences. So it sounds like he rallies guys. Obviously, Estime is a big voice in there as well. Hart seems to be a quiet guy. Obviously JD will make a great play and just go back, get up back to the huddle like nothing even happened. Exactly. But you're right. Who's that fire?
In this game, it's like I'm just going into the culture thing. And I haven't been wrong often, Singer. I haven't. They are going to come in super confident. They're going to be like, Caleb Williams isn't even worried about the defense. He's worried about what he's going to put on his fucking fingernails. Like, what's he going to paint this year? I promise you. They're going to come in laughing. They're going to come around, dance around the stadium. It's going to happen. And it's like, that's your chance just to be like, this guy mocked you last year. You won him a Heisman Trophy. They got to come play in the cold. I'm telling you, I don't think they're going to take us seriously. I don't. And I think
I'm sure they're going to be
excellent opportunity to get back to who you are, that culture piece, offensive line, defensive line, and go take their lunch money.
I bet you they're stunned. I bet you they're shocked right now. Like, how the hell are we an underdog to these guys? So I bet you that's their mindset with Lincoln Riley.
All right.
Well, I disagree. Not the players. Not the players. Believe me, Tim, not the players. Those kids are laid up smoking something right now, clowning Notre Dame. I promise you.
Well, they're clowning him, I'm sure.
All right, Goolsby, I got a couple super chats. I'm going to let you go because we kept you longer than I told you we would. So, Goolsby, I appreciate your time tonight, man. Great stuff tonight.
Thanks, fellas.
Maybe, I know he doesn't like it, Mike, but is there a score prediction? But if you're going the odds, it's what, 61.5. What is it? You going under or over?
I'm no good at math, gentlemen. Give me a second.
Neither am I.
I'm going to say 31-28 Notre Dame.
Ooh, I like that. Look at that. I'm going to write that down. I like that.
Caleb's going to throw some picks.
Ooh.
He's been sacked 8 times the last 3 games. I'm just telling you, like you said, Tim, you played enough coverage. You got enough older guys in the back end.
They have a lot.
One of those guys has just got to be drooling, whether it's Ramon, whether it's DJ, whether it's Xavier, whether it's Clarence Lewis, Cam Hart. Like, I want to pick off this Heisman Trophy winner. I could see it happening.
I'm fired up now. I'm hyped.
See?
I'm hyped.
Thanks, Ghouls.
I'll see you guys.
You got it.
All right. He's the best. Trash says, love the show. As always, boys, NBC should zoom in on Caleb's fingernails as soon as they get to see if he continued his ritual. Won't fly in the NFL. I think Tim and I have talked about this before. And Trash, you asked this question before. We do not care what he puts on his fingernails. I don't ever want to talk about someone's fingernails on the show. So, Trash, appreciate you. You're the best. I don't want to talk about his fingernails. It's so dumb to me.
I may not fly in the NFL, but Caleb doesn't care.
Yeah. And Caleb will go play in the NFL, and we'll see what happens with his fingernails then. Appreciate your Trash. William says, guys, you all played football. How does this team carry this soft mindset on the road the past 2 weeks? I used to love going on the road and ruining other teams' Super Bowl. It's like the whole team is shook. Tim, you got William, really appreciate the $10 donation here. Tim, do you have any thoughts?
Well, I don't think they had a soft mindset when you go 95 yards in 2 minutes to win at Duke and just yank their life away from them in that stadium. I think that's a pretty strong mindset to go down there and finish that out. Last week was turnovers. It was just turnovers, and that's really what it was. Turnovers, man. And I'll be honest with you, it's a couple bad blocks and a couple bad run fits. It literally was just 5-6 plays that were key. What's crazy real quick is some of those offensive linemen that have been getting ripped had their highest grades on PFF against Louisville. Zeke and Rocco and pass blocking. Joel Alt, I think, had his best pass blocking grade, yet all we remember is him getting pancaked on one play. He kicked butt the rest of the night. Fisher was middle of the road. Coogan, Rocco had low run blocking grades. So Zeke and Rocco had their lowest run blocking grades. Pass blocking, they're sky high, their highest of the year. So it was just it was a roller coaster of a handful of things that went wrong against Louisville.
All right, I'm going to say something, one more thing, and I'm going to sign off the stream. Listen to me, Notre Dame fans. I understand that you're frustrated that Notre Dame is losing football games. Do not, I'm going to go full screen on this one. Tag or respond to tweets that have recruits tagged. Like I posted an article about a recruit, right? And his Twitter name was in there. Don't respond and be like, why would you even want to go to Notre Dame? And you're a Notre Dame fan. Guys, don't do stupid stuff on social media. Don't look like an asshole on social media. I had a guy, a Notre Dame fan, say that to Deuce 9 on Twitter today. And I'm like, how stupid are you? Don't do that. I know you can't control what other Notre Dame fans could do, but I have a platform, and I'm going to tell you guys, don't be an asshole on Twitter with recruits watching you. It does absolutely nothing. You're not a fan. You're a piece of trash if you do that. And I hope that you never watch me on YouTube or talk to me on Twitter. Like, just block me. Just stay out of my mentions on Twitter. Like, just I can't see that. I will lose my mind if I ever see that again. Don't be an asshole on social media. And stop selling tickets to USC fans. All right.
Hey, yeah, exactly. Go Irish, and just like,
yeah, like just be a fan. Like just root for
First
your
off,
team, guys.
I mean, Mike, you've covered recruiting for a dozen years or whatever it's been, and it's like, first off, these are teenagers, and it's like these are high school kids. I work at high school. It's like these are high school kids saying stuff like that. High school kid. I've never understood. I've never understood people doing that. I guess you could, be a positive one, but it's like, yeah, stuff like they're high school kids. First off, I don't think I've ever tweeted to a high school kid, "Hey, congrats." It's like, no, he's a high school kid. He'll get his congrats when he comes to Notre Dame and he's a college student.
Just don't tweet recruits. That's the number. That's would be my number one consensus. But if you are, don't be an asshole. It's ridiculous. But anyways, we're gonna sign it off there with a rant that I did not prepare. I don't even know how I came to that. But Tim and I have to record another video, our final thoughts, observations, and predictions video. And then I got a stream tomorrow morning, 10:30 a.m. Eastern time, where myself and Kyle Kelly will talk some Notre Dame recruiting. I was actually on the road seeing Deuce Night this past Friday, so we'll watch footage from that, talk about that experience, and much more in the world of Notre Dame recruiting. Tim, live on the show Saturday night.
A quick Singer 30. How was Deuce? Just quick, a couple little sentences.
7-9, 2 drops. So that's pretty good. Played a half of football. They're up 48-0. Tim, you'll have to tune into the show.
He
was fantastic. He really was
taller than you?
Significantly taller than me. Like Tim, I'm 6'2.5", 240.
That's what I'm saying.
I'm a big dude. I'm a big dude. When I saw him, I was holy shit.
That's all.
There's only a few people I've seen where I'm like, oh my gosh, like he's 6'5" and he's long and he's lean, but like he's lean and like you can tell that you would rather have him lean because just Notre Dame should be able to get him wherever they want.
He's only a junior in high school. He's got a long way to go.
So
I love that.
10:30 a.m. Eastern time, Thursday morning. Myself and Kyle Kelly, fellow blue and gold recruiting guy, will talk some Notre Dame recruiting. So we're going to sign off there. Appreciate you folks for watching. And as always, we will catch you guys next time.